Namaskar. A warm welcome to World News, an Indian perspective on All India Radio. This is R.S. Raghu, and with me is Aditi Lumba, bringing glimpses of the major developments of the day from across the globe. Over the next half an hour, we shall bring you the latest from the world of politics, economy, sports, entertainment, and more. The headlines. New Delhi says Arunachal Pradesh has always been and will always be an integral part of India. India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi inaugurates and lays foundation stone of 23 development projects at Haldwani in Uttarakhand. WHO warns of tsunami of COVID cases due to simultaneous circulation of Delta and Omicron variants. In United States, hundreds of flights cancelled due to staffing issues caused by Omicron. Saudi Arabia reimposes social distancing measures at Mosque in Mecca after recording highest number of corona infections in months. Residents of China's Xi'an city face supply issues in lockdown as China insists on its zero COVID policy ahead of Winter Olympics. And in cricket, India beat South Africa by 113 runs in first cricket test at Centurion to take 1-0 lead in 3-match series. As India marches towards administering 150 crore vaccine doses against COVID-19, news about the new corona variant is a cause for concern. In this situation, we appeal to our listeners to get fully vaccinated at the earliest and help others get vaccinated. Please continue to follow these 3 simple steps to stay safe. Wear a face mask, maintain 2 gaz ki duri for social distancing, and focus on hand and face hygiene. For any COVID-related information and guidance, contact the national helpline numbers 011-2397-8046 and 1075. And now the news in detail. External Affairs Ministry has said Arunachal Pradesh has always been and will always be an integral part of India. Responding to media queries on reports that China has renamed some places in Arunachal Pradesh in its own language, Ministry spokesman Arindam Bagchi said assigning invented names to places in Arunachal Pradesh does not alter this fact. He said this is not the first time China has attempted such a renaming of the places in the state. China had also sought to assign such names in April 2017.
India's Prime Minister of Narendra Modi inaugurated and laid the foundation of 23 projects worth 17,500 crore rupees at Haldwani in Uttarakhand on Thursday. These projects cover a wide array of sectors in areas across the state, including irrigation, road, housing, health infrastructure, industry, sanitation and drinking water supply. The projects included laying the foundation stone of AIIMS, All India Institute of Medical Sciences, in Haldwani, Lakhwar Multipurpose Project, a hydropower facility in Pithoragarh, multiple road projects across the state under the Pradhan Mantri Gram Sadak Yojana, and strategically important Tanakpur-Pithoragarh road project to improve the connectivity of Kailash Mansarovar Yatra, among others. The Prime Minister also laid the foundation stone of Aroma Park at Kashipur and Plastic Industrial Park at Sitarganj. In line with Prime Minister's endeavour to expand the medical infrastructure of the state and provide world-class medical facilities in different parts of the country, the foundation stones of AIIMS, Rishikesh Satellite Centre at Udham Singh Nagar and Jagjeevan Ram Government Medical College at Pithoragarh were also laid. In order to improve connectivity at far-flung places of the country, inauguration and foundation stone laying of multiple road sector projects worth about 8,700 crore rupees was also done on this occasion. These road projects will improve connectivity between Garhwal, Kumaon and Terai region. It will also improve connectivity between Uttarakhand and Nepal. Improved connectivity will also benefit industrial areas in Rudrapur and Lal Kuan, besides improving the accessibility of Jim Corbett National Park. Addressing the gathering, Prime Minister Modi said that he was privileged to visit Kumaon and his earlier memories of visiting the region have been refreshed. He said that the present decade belongs to Uttarakhand.
अब हल्द्वानी में पानी, सीवरेज, सड़क, पार्किंग, स्ट्रीट लाइट सभी जगह पर अभूतपूर्व सुधार होगा। इस दशक को उत्तराखंड का दशक बनाने के लिए तेज गति से ऐसे ही विकास कार्यों पर अनेक काम करने की जरूरत पर हमने जोर दिया है। और जब मैं कहता हूं कि ये उत्तराखंड का दशक है, तो ऐसे ही नहीं कह रहा हूं। ये जब मैं कह रहा हूं तो उसकी बहुत सारी वजह उत्तराखंड के लोगों का सामर्थ्य इस दशक को उत्तराखंड का दशक बनाएगा, ये मेरा पक्का विश्वास।
Targeting the opposition, Mr. Modi said earlier governments ignored the developmental needs of the state and of the people of the state. He said the central government has also set up India's largest optical telescope at Devasthal in Nainital. He said they are also engaged in a mission from Gangotri to Ganga Sagar. The Prime Minister said the nation has not forgotten the brave mothers of Kumaon who dedicated their children to the defense of the nation. He announced that just like Rishikesh Karnprayag railway line, Tanakpur-Bageshwar railway line will also be constructed soon.
World Health Organization WHO has warned that the simultaneous circulation of Delta and Omicron variants is driving a dangerous tsunami of COVID-19 cases. Briefing media, WHO Director General Tedros Adhanom Ghebreyesus said the twin threats of the two variants are now driving up cases to record numbers, leading to spikes in hospitalizations and deaths. Dr. Tedros said on Wednesday, this is and will continue to put immense pressure on exhausted health workers and put health systems on the brink of collapse. Mr. Tedros reiterated his call for countries to share vaccines more equitably and warned that the emphasis on boosters in richer countries could leave poorer nations short of jabs. He said the WHO was campaigning for every country to hit a target of 70% vaccine coverage by the middle of 2022, which would help and end the acute phase of the pandemic. He expressed hope that the world would put the worst of the pandemic behind it in 2022. The warning of WHO chief comes in the backdrop of US and countries across Europe reporting record new COVID cases. The WHO said new global cases had risen by 11% last week, while the US and France both registered record daily case numbers on Wednesday. France reported Europe's highest ever daily figure for the second day in a row at 208,000 cases. And the US has reported a record average of 265,427 cases a day over the last week, according to Johns Hopkins. Denmark, Portugal, the UK and Australia have all also reported record-breaking figures. The new variant, first discovered in South Africa, has already become dominant in Europe. In the US, Omicron accounts for nearly 73% of the cases. In United States, hundreds of flights were cancelled on Wednesday as the Omicron variant of COVID created havoc both for travelers and for the airlines. According to data from the flight tracking website, more than 850 flights were cancelled on Wednesday and the number ticked higher throughout the day. There were nearly 1,300 cancellations for flights entering, leaving or inside the United States on Tuesday and about 1,500 on Monday. Delta, United and JetBlue have said that the Omicron variant was causing significant staffing issues for airlines, due to which flights were cancelled. SkyWest, a regional airline based in Utah, has suffered 195 cancellations after severe weather hit several of its hubs. A slew of issues, including Omicron infections and bad weather, could translate to travel headaches for hundreds of thousands of people if cancellations maintain the current pace heading into the New Year's holiday weekend.
Saudi Arabia has reimposed social distancing measures at the Grand Mosque in the Muslim holy city of Mecca after recording the highest number of corona infections in months. Workers have returned floor markings removed on 17th of October to guide people to social distance in and around the Grand Mosque, which is built around the Kaaba, the structure towards which Muslims around the world pray. Saudi authorities said they will reimpose social distancing requirements between worshippers and pilgrims at the Grand Mosque without specifying whether a capacity has been set. Earlier, the kingdom had said social distancing in mosques were again required in both indoor and outdoor venues. The kingdom of approximately 34 million people have so far recorded more than 5,54,000 coronavirus cases, including 8,874 deaths, the highest number of fatalities among the Gulf Arab countries. On Wednesday, Saudi recorded 744 cases, the highest number since mid-August. The COVID-19 pandemic hugely disrupted Muslim pilgrimages, which are usually key revenue earners for the kingdom, bringing in some $12 billion annually. The Sixth Gulf Cooperation Council (GCC) states Bahrain, Kuwait, Oman, Saudi Arabia, the United Arab Emirates and Qatar have been recording the highest numbers of new cases in months. Despite having the world's highest vaccination rate, the UAE has recorded the largest number of infections among Gulf countries at more than 7,57,000. On Wednesday, it recorded 2,234 infections, the highest number since June. The Emirates Abu Dhabi Crown Prince Sheikh Mohammed bin Zayed sought to reassure the people that the UAE health sector is fully geared and prepared to address any challenges, according to the official news agency. The UAE is gearing up to host New Year's Eve celebrations, including the Burj Khalifa, the world's tallest tower in the Emirate of Dubai. The city, which is heavily dependent on tourism, was one of the world's first destinations to welcome back visitors in July 2020. The Indian Health Ministry said the country has been reporting 10,000 daily cases since the 26th of December and highlighted the need for heightened vigil in view of sharp increases in cases. Briefing media in Delhi, Joint Secretary in the Health Ministry Love Agarwal said 961 Omicron variant cases have been reported in India till date. Out of this, 320 recoveries have been reported. Mr. Agarwal said approximately 90% of the adult population in India has been vaccinated against COVID with the first dose. ICMR Director General Dr. Balram Bhargava said all the COVID vaccines, whether they are from India, Israel, US, Europe, UK or China, are primarily disease-modifying.
All COVID vaccines, whether it be from India, from Israel, from USA, from Europe, from UK or China, all these vaccines are primarily disease modifying. They do not prevent infection. So they are not infection preventing. So precautionary dose is primarily to mitigate three things. One, severity of infections. Two, hospitalization and death.
Dr. V.K. Paul, member Niti Aayog, said that mask is very important to prevent spread of infection.
All variants enter through the same route, and that route can be blocked by wearing a mask. The mask will not get out of fashion. Mask remains the final frontier in the face of this variant. In addition to the vaccine protection that you have inside your body, but the virus is an external agent and it has to pass through the barrier of the mask, and that makes it even more difficult. In addition to be prepared internally to fight this virus. So mask, even more important today.
India's COVID vaccination coverage has crossed 144 crore 45 lakh landmark milestone. The national recovery rate stands at 98.38%.
The members of the United Nations Security Council condemned the reported killing of at least 35 people, including 4 children and 2 staff members of the Save the Children in Kaya state of Myanmar on 24th of December. A statement issued by the Security Council on Wednesday stressed the need to ensure accountability for this act. The UNSC members called for immediate halting of all violence and emphasized the importance of respect for human rights and ensuring safety of civilians. They stressed the need for safe and unimpeded humanitarian access to all people in need and for the full protection, safety and security of the humanitarian and medical personnel. The members of the Security Council reaffirmed their support for the people of Myanmar and the country's democratic transition. They expressed their strong commitment to the sovereignty, political independence, territorial integrity and unity of Myanmar. Earlier in the week, UNICEF also condemned the attack, saying it was shocked and saddened by the reported killing and burning of victims. The state-run media of Myanmar had reported that soldiers had fired and killed an unspecified number of terrorists with weapons in the village in Kaya state. In today's Hotspot section, we bring you AIR News Special Program 2021, the year that was for Myanmar.
Myanmar has witnessed a turbulent year after initial hopes that this year would usher in a fresh breath of democracy. The nation's problems surfaced in early 2021 when the democratization process was derailed. Myanmar's military, Tat Ma Dao, staged a coup against the popularly elected government of Aung San Suu Kyi on the very day that the newly elected parliament was to meet. The general who took over power has now declared that the government plans to hold fresh general elections in August 2023 after lifting the state of emergency. Senior General Min Aung Hlaing staged a coup overthrowing the democratically elected government of Aung San Suu Kyi on 1st of February 2021, replacing it with a newly formed body, the State Administrative Council (SAC), after annulling the November 2020 election results in which Aung San Suu Kyi's National League for Democracy (NLD) had won. The National Unity Government (NUG) was set up as a government in exile, and it has drafted a federal democracy charter and attempted to organize a People's Defense Force with the support of some of the ethnic armed organizations. The civil disobedience movement (CDM) that followed the coup was put down by the military. Over 1,365 people were killed and 11,100 arrested, according to local rights groups. While many countries condemned the February 1st coup, some countries were represented at Myanmar's Armed Forces Day parade on March 27, 2021, including India. While the West, United States, United Kingdom and the European Union has again resorted to targeted sanctions against military officials, the ASEAN approach was somewhat ambivalent because of the lack of unity among its members. Cambodia will be in the ASEAN chair next year, and its Prime Minister Hun Sen has already announced his plan to visit Myanmar in January 2022. China has taken the lead in developing ties by sending its Foreign Minister Wang Yi to Myanmar in January 2021, and later Special Envoy Sun Guoxiang. Thailand also has affinity with Myanmar's military regime, while Japan too has retained close ties with Myanmar. China's influence in Myanmar has steadily grown during the period of military rule when Naypyidaw was been sanctioned and boycotted by the West. China has 2,100-kilometer long border with Myanmar and needs access to the Indian Ocean through Myanmar. China's flagship project under the Belt and Road Initiative, BRI, is the 1,700-kilometer long China-Myanmar Economic Corridor, or CMEC. During President Xi Jinping's visit in January 2020, 33 cooperation agreements were signed, including Quap Phu Special Economic Zone and Quoc Phu Deep Sea Port. But according to analysts, seeds of mistrust between Myanmar and China have begun to grow, with China supplying military equipment to rebel groups, including the Arakan Army in Rakhine and Chin states. Myanmar's economy, bracketed as a least developed country, LDC, was on the path to economic reform and growth, but the coup and the COVID-19 pandemic are expected to slow down progress. According to estimates, Myanmar will be the worst economic performer in Southeast Asia in 2021-22. Rising unemployment is expected to further reduce household budgets for consumption. Myanmar is a geostrategically located ASEAN neighbor, which is also the linchpin of India's Act East policy. Foreign Secretary Harshvardhan Shringla's visit last week sought to convey to Myanmar's military rulers the urgency to restore democracy in Myanmar at the earliest. Mr. Shringla met not only the military rulers, but also the representatives of the NLD, civil society representatives and foreign diplomats. India's immediate cause for concern was the killing of the commanding officer of Assam Rifles and others in an ambush in Manipur, signaling the revival of insurgent activity on India-Myanmar border. The refugee influx from Myanmar to Manipur and Mizoram is also a matter of concern for New Delhi. Apart from the civil-military conflict in Myanmar, the country is a hotbed of ethnic tensions. Minority ethnic groups engaged in a civil war were the majority Bamar community. An extended civil war in India's neighborhood would have adverse implications for India's northeastern states. As a non-permanent member of the UNSC, during 2021-2022, India can help build a supportive international environment, enabling Myanmar military to return to the democratic roadmap. As Myanmar and the region cope with the COVID-19 pandemic, it would be only appropriate that neighboring countries, including India, prevent the country from not only failing, but enable it to emerge as a successful ASEAN member state.
This is All India Radio, giving you the news. For quick news updates round the clock, follow us on Twitter at AIR News Alerts.
China's Xi'an city, famous for its terracotta warriors, is facing trouble providing essential supplies for its 13 million locked-down residents amid the worst COVID-19 surge, throwing challenges to its zero-COVID policy. Chinese officials admitted at a press conference on Wednesday that they have faced challenges getting enough supplies to residents in lockdown Xi'an after the city's inhabitants took to social media to complain that they did not have enough food and called for help. Beijing has followed a strict zero-COVID strategy involving tight border restrictions and targeted lockdowns. Xi'an officials admitted that low staff attendance and difficulties in logistics and distribution had led to trouble providing essential supplies, adding that they are trying their best. Authorities have also detained at least 7 people in the city over attempting to escape quarantine, disrupting order and spreading rumors, local media said. As the city has reported more than 1,100 domestic COVID cases in December 9th, Chinese officials imposed what they have called the strictest possible curbs in Xi'an. The current outbreak, which is the most serious outbreak this year, comes as Beijing prepares to welcome thousands of overseas visitors to February's Winter Olympics. Chinese health officials said that the country is facing increasing pressure to prevent inbound COVID-19 infections as the new Omicron variant has become widely prevalent in some countries, once again shattering the dreams of thousands of international students and families waiting to return to China for the past 2 years. Spokesperson for the National Health Commission, Mi Feng, said at a press conference on Wednesday that strict anti-epidemic measures should occur resolutely and decisively, considering that the upcoming New Year and Spring Festival holidays will see more flows of people, Chinese state news agency reported. Beijing is preparing to welcome thousands of overseas visitors to February's Winter Olympics, but has effectively banned its borders with stringent restrictions for international travelers, including students and separated families.
Iran's top nuclear negotiator Ali Bagheri Khani has commented on the ongoing talks at Vienna between Iran and participating delegation. The meeting mainly focuses on lifting of anti-Iran sanctions, and it is believed negotiations are going well. On Wednesday evening, the bilateral and multilateral meetings among the participating delegations, namely from France, Russia, China, Germany and the UK, have just ended, with execrators saying that with the trend of talks is accelerating, the differences are narrowing. Meetings were also held among Iranian and Troika as well as the representative of the European Union this morning. Disagreements among participants of the 8th round of talks have reportedly narrowed compared to the previous round, resulting in a smoother process of negotiations. Iran announced on Thursday it had carried out a new space launch in a move likely to irk Western powers amid tough talks on reviving a 2015 nuclear deal. The Simorgh satellite launcher carried 3 research cargoes into space, Defense Ministry spokesman Ahmad Hosseini said, as quoted by state television. The research goals foreseen for this launch have been achieved, Hosseini added, without elaborating on the nature of the research. In February, Iran announced a successful test of its most powerful solid-fuel satellite launcher to date, the Zoljana, boasting that it can put a 220-kilogram payload into orbit. The United States voiced concern about that launch, saying the test could boost Iran's ballistic missile technology at a moment when the two nations are inching back to diplomacy. Iran successfully put its first military satellite into orbit in April 2020, drawing a sharp rebuke from Washington. Western governments worry that the satellite launch systems incorporate technologies interchangeable with those used in ballistic missiles, capable of delivering a nuclear warhead. Iran insists its space program is for civilian and defense purposes only and does not breach the nuclear deal or any other international agreement. The 2015 agreement has been hanging by a thread since the US left it in 2018 and reimposed sanctions, prompting Iran to set up nuclear activities long curtailed by the deal. A new round of negotiations began in Vienna on Monday in a fresh push to make headway on reviving the deal.
Australia's former Parliament building in the capital Canberra was briefly set alight on Thursday by protesters during a demonstration for Aboriginal sovereignty. Police said no one was injured in the fire, which engulfed the old Parliament House's front doors before it was put out. It follows a fortnight of protest activity at the site, police said. Protest violence on the scale is rare in Australia, though flare-ups have become more common during the pandemic. On Thursday, workers inside the Heritage Building were quickly evacuated once the fire broke out. And now a report from the business world.
At the stock markets, the Sensex at the Bombay Stock Exchange fell 12 points to end at 57,794. The Nifty at the National Stock Exchange shed 10 points to close at 17,204. At the Forex market, rupee jumped 33 paisa against the dollar to 74.41. Amongst global markets, Asian markets ended mixed today. So Japan's Nikkei 225 index and Singapore's Straits Times index shed 0.4% each, and South Korea's Kospi index dropped 0.5%. But Hong Kong's Hang Seng index gained 0.1%, and China's Shanghai Composite Index rose 0.6%. In Europe, key indices, London's FTSE 100 and Germany's DAX had traded marginally higher during the session, while France's CAC 40 had inched up 0.3% in intraday trade. Global crude oil prices eased today after the world's top importer, China, cut the first batch of crude import allocations for 2022, offsetting the impact of US data showing fuel demand had held up despite soaring Omicron coronavirus infections. So Brent crude futures fell 52 cents to trade at $78.71 a barrel. US crude oil futures slipped 59 cents to $75.97 a barrel. Back home, gold fell 98 rupees to 46,688 rupees per 10 grams at Delhi's bullion market. Anubha Rahodki for World News, All India Radio.
India beat South Africa by 113 runs in first cricket test, taking a 1-0 lead in three-match series. Set a stiff target of 305 runs, South Africa were bowled out for 191 on the fifth and final day of the opening test today at Centurion. At the lunch break, Themba Bavuma and Marco Jansen were batting on 34 and 5 runs respectively as the hosts still trailed India by 123 runs. South Africa finished the fourth day at 94 runs for the loss of 4 wickets, with skipper Dean Elgar unbeaten on 52 after Indian batters caved in on a track with uneven bounce, getting all out for 174 in their second innings in just 50.3 overs. Wicketkeeper batter Rishabh Pant top scored for India in the second innings with a run above 34. Kagiso Rabada and Marco Jansen took 4 wickets apiece, while Lungi Ngidi got 2 wickets for South Africa. India had bowled South Africa out for 197 after making 327 in their first innings. KL Rahul was named the player of the match for his brilliant 100 in the first innings. The second test between the two countries will be played from 3rd to 7th of January at the Wanderers Stadium, Johannesburg. In cricket, in the second semi-final match of the 2021 Under-19 Asian Cup in Sharjah on Thursday, India defeated Bangladesh by 103 runs to enter the final. Now, India will lock horns with Sri Lanka in the Under-19 Asia Cup finals on Friday. India scored 243 of 8 in 50 overs after batting first with the help of 90 runs by Shaikh Rashid. Chasing the target of 244 runs, Bangladesh were bundled out for 140 runs.
Now let us take a look at the major developments around the world as reported in the foreign press. Financial Times says WHO warns of tsunami of cases from Omicron and Delta variants. The Guardian reports UK test shortages very worrying ahead of New Year. 6 Canadian provinces see record daily case rises. The Globe and Mail writes surge in COVID-19 hospitalizations among US children raises new Omicron variant concerns. Ceylon News says Pakistan police detains 85 crime suspects in Sri Lanka's lynching. The Wall Street Journal writes Biden-Putin plan call at what US says is a moment of crisis over Ukraine. Sputnik News says Prince Andrew should be quacking in his boots after Ghislaine Maxwell's guilty verdict, lawyer says.
India. A quick look at the headlines once again. New Delhi says Arunachal Pradesh has always been and will always be an integral part of India. India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi inaugurates and lays foundation stone of 23 development projects at Haldwani in Uttarakhand. WHO warns of tsunami of COVID cases due to simultaneous circulation of Delta and Omicron variants. In United States, hundreds of flights cancelled due to staffing issues caused by Omicron. Saudi Arabia reimposes social distancing measures at Grand Mosque in Mecca after recording highest number of corona infections in months. Residents of China's Xi'an city face supply issues in lockdown as China insists on its zero COVID policy ahead of Winter Olympics. And in cricket, India beat South Africa by 113 runs in first cricket test at Centurion to take 1-0 lead in 3-match series. India is celebrating the 152nd birth anniversary of Mahatma Gandhi. Before we end, let us listen to his favorite bhajan, Vaishnav Jan, by artists from Sri Lanka.
Vaishnav Jan ko lene kahiye je, peer parai jane.
And with that, we end this bulletin. We'll be back at the same time tomorrow with the next edition of World News.